when a billionaire's 6-year-old son pointed at a homeless girl and said, "I want her as my sister." Nobody expected what would happen next. This is a story that will restore your faith in humanity. If this story touches your heart, please hit the like button, share it with your loved ones, comment below with your thoughts, and subscribe to Trillionaire in Love for more inspiring stories. Your support means everything. Now let's begin. Alexander Thornton had everything money could buy. At 35, he was the CEO of a global tech empire, living in a penthouse that overlooked the glittering skyline of New York City. His suits cost more than most people's monthly salaries. His cars were collector's items, and his name commanded respect in every boardroom across the world. But none of that mattered as much as the little boy holding his hand that cold November evening. 6-year-old Sebastian was Alexander's entire world. After losing his wife Emma to cancer 3 years ago, Alexander had thrown himself into being both mother and father to his son. Sebastian had Emma's warm brown eyes and infectious laugh, and Alexander would have given up every dollar in his bank account to keep that laugh alive. They were walking through Central Park after Sebastian's piano recital when it happened. The sun was setting, casting golden light through the bare trees, and Sebastian was chattering excitedly about the piece he had played. Then suddenly he stopped. His small hand tightened around his father's fingers. "Daddy, look," Sebastian whispered, pointing toward a park bench. Alexander followed his son's gaze and saw a girl, no more than 7 or 8 years old, sitting alone on the bench. Her clothes were torn and dirty, several sizes too small. Her blonde hair was matted and tangled. She was clutching a ragged teddy bear with one eye missing, and even from a distance, Alexander could see she was shivering in the evening cold. But what struck him most was her eyes. They were hollow, far too old for such a young face. Before Alexander could react, Sebastian pulled his hand free and ran toward the girl. "Sebastian, wait!" Alexander called, but his son was already standing in front of the bench. "Hi, I'm Sebastian. What's your name?" His son asked with the innocent kindness only children possess. The girl looked up, startled. She didn't answer, just hugged her teddy bear tighter. "Are you cold?" "You can have my jacket," Sebastian said, already starting to unzip his expensive wool coat. Alexander reached them just as the girl spoke for the first time. "Lily," she whispered. "My name is Lily." "That's a pretty name," Sebastian said, smiling. Then he turned to his father with those earnest brown eyes. "Daddy, I want her as my sister." Alexander froze. The words hung in the air like a challenge from the universe itself. He looked at this poor, frightened child, then at his son's hopeful face, and felt something crack open in his chest. "Sebastian, it's not that simple," Alexander began, but Lily interrupted. "It's okay," she said quietly. "I'm used to being alone. My mommy got sick and went to heaven 2 months ago. I don't have anywhere to go. The shelter was full. 2 months. This child had been surviving on the streets for 2 months. Alexander felt his throat tighten. He crouched down to Lily's level. "Have you eaten today?" he asked gently. Lily shook her head. "Then let's start there," Alexander said, making a decision that would change all their lives. "Come with us. We'll get you some food and we'll figure out the rest." What Alexander didn't anticipate was how complicated the rest would become. That night after feeding Lily the first real meal she'd had in weeks and letting her take a hot bath, he called his lawyer. The news wasn't encouraging. "Alexander, the foster care system is overwhelmed," Margaret, his lawyer, explained. "An adoption, especially for a single father with your work schedule, could take years. Plus, we'd need to find her existing records, see if she has any living relatives. She's been living on the streets, Margaret, for 2 months. While the system figures itself out, what happens to her?" The next morning, Alexander hired a private investigator. What they discovered broke his heart. Lily's mother, Sarah Mitchell, had been a single parent working 2 jobs. When she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, she'd had no family to turn to, no safety net. After she died, Lily had simply fallen through the cracks. No father listed on the birth certificate, no relatives they could locate. The child had been utterly alone. Sebastian, meanwhile, had taken his new role as big brother seriously. He shared his toys, read her stories, and held her hand when she woke up screaming from nightmares. Watching them together, Alexander saw his son come alive in a way he hadn't since Emma died. And Lily slowly began to smile. But the challenges kept coming. Social services got involved, questioning Alexander's motives. Billionaire saves street child became a media circus. Some praised him. Others accused him of trying to buy good publicity. The scrutiny was intense. There were home visits, psychological evaluations, background checks. Alexander's pristine reputation was picked apart. Every business decision questioned. The hardest moment came 6 weeks in, when a social worker told Alexander that Lily would need to enter the foster system while the adoption process played out. He'd never forget Sebastian's tears, or Lily's silent acceptance, as if she'd known all along that happiness was temporary. "Please don't make her go," Sebastian begged. "She's my sister. We need her." That night, Alexander called in every favor he'd ever earned. He got character references from senators, testimonials from his staff, expert opinions on his fitness as a parent. He assembled a legal team that worked around the clock, and he did something he'd never done before. He went public. Not about his charity or his business, but about his heart. In a press conference that went viral, Alexander spoke about loss, about his son's loneliness, about seeing Emma's compassion, reflected in Sebastian's eyes when he'd wanted to help. "Lily, I'm not trying to be a savior," he said. "I'm trying to be a father. To both of them." The public response was overwhelming. Letters poured in. The pressure on the system mounted. And 3 months after that November evening in Central Park, a judge signed the papers. Lily Mitchell became Lily Thornton. The day the adoption was finalized, Alexander took both children back to that same park bench. "This is where our family really began," he told them. Sebastian hugged his sister tight. "I told you, Daddy, I knew she was supposed to be with us." Lily, who now smiled easily and laughed often, looked up at Alexander with trust in those once hollow eyes. "Thank you for not walking past me," she whispered. Alexander knelt down and pulled both children into his arms. "Thank you for teaching me that the most valuable things in life can't be bought. They can only be chosen and loved and fought for." As they walked home together, 3 instead of 2, Alexander realized that Sebastian had been right all along. Sometimes a child's heart sees what an adult's mind misses. Love isn't complicated. Need isn't bureaucratic. Family isn't about blood or wealth. It's about showing up, holding on, and choosing each other every single day. Dear viewers of Trillionaire in Love, if this story moved you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment telling us what family means to you. Hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories that remind us what really matters in life. Your engagement helps these stories reach more hearts. Together we can spread hope and love. Thank you for being part of this community.